All right, there we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mikestand. We are. This is Thursday, February 2nd. So we're gonna wait a few minutes, give people a chance to pop in. Um, anyways, so hey, Woody. Hey, Woody. All right. So, anyways, we're just, as I said, we're just not this garbage again. Anyways, popping in. How that go? How goes it? All right, just YouTube being looks like YouTube's going to be a little poopy tonight because they're gonna make my video drag for some reason. At least according to my from what I can see. Yeah. So, anyways, but so what's on tap for tonight? Let me try this a bit here. All right, so hopefully that will help some a little bit. All right. Anyways, I'm going to step away from the computer for a moment here. Take care of some technical issues. Put some music on while I'm gone. Yeah, well, I mean, it's been happening to me a little bit more lately. It never happened to me before. So, as you know, I have a bunch of tabs open. So I have one tab open here on my StreamYard. I have a YouTube tab open, and usually on the YouTube tab it does keep up on the video. But I've been having some issues lately where the video hasn't been keeping up. For some reason, I have no idea why, and it's like stupid. It's not happening every night, but sometimes it happens. It seems like it happens every other night, or every couple of nights, or whatever. But it's stupid. Aside from the usual stuff. But anyways, as I said, I'm going to go off camera here for a moment to do some right back. Alright, I'm back. Let's see now. We must all share the infernal web. Yep, you ready? Alright, so anyways, I'm getting up to 8 minutes now. Thing is though, this has only been happening over the last few weeks where it's happened every few nights or whatever, but definitely be saying more than one viewer here. But, gonna try one more. Let's try something. Be right back. I'm gonna try one more thing here. Try to fix some of this crap. Sunspots. Yeah, yep. That's what I said. I know. Normally I try to stay away, but all right. Well, I've done everything I think I can do. So, um, hopefully we can start getting some more people in here, and maybe that will help pick things up a little bit. But anyways, so here's what's on tap on tonight. Gonna just go, just kind of freelance over, some CBR stuff. Go through the anime, comics, and TV sections, and just take out articles of interest, and we'll do the, we'll go up to about the top of the hour, then we'll maybe a little pass, and then and I'll of course do the wrestling wrap up. There's some sad news to report on that front, and and also and also let's see. Also, we'll do the This Day Meets History. So, as always, if you can help the channel out by liking, sharing, seeing if we can get some more people here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if you can also if anything grabs your attention at any point, from any of the articles that we're reading, feel free to like and or feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and now get started with the articles? Just kind of as I said, just freelancing through some of the articles here. right. So first off, we're gonna usually anime has more of the more articles, and since we don't cover anime always as much, let's see major character. Yeah, that might be a bit of a spoiler. Let's see. The subtle themes laid the story's foundation. Um, yeah, I guess we can go over that one. Again, I try to avoid spoilers, so let's see now. Make sure they are saying those potential spoilers here. No, it doesn't look like that. Okay. All right, so here's the first article we're going to go over tonight. Always happy to see when Susie forces huge interface changes on the. Uh, uh, anyways, all right, so let's get to it. Oh, see, what else are you saying here? Fine orientation problems, third world problems. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's go ahead and look at this. So, Bungo Stray Dogs, the subtle themes that laid the story's foundation. Bungo Stray Dogs subtly portrays how society and someone's past can shape a person and what it takes for them to find a new reason to live. Article by Talisha um, Shivastava, published 22 hours ago. Let's see. I recently watched it, so it's a pretty interesting story. People with powers and all that. So, anyways, Bungo Stray Dogs is an underrated yet highly praised series. It follows the armed detective agency, a group of superpowered individuals, as they try to keep the city of Yokohama safe. They refer to such superhuman powers as gifts. On the surface, it may seem like a simple story, with the characters having supernatural powers and fighting off villains to protect the city. However, the variety of characters and their backstories give the story some depth, which is true. You got some interesting twists and turns in this story, as it were. So, the series explores themes such as abuse, trauma recovery, and repentance. This, of course, goes for the main characters, Atsushi Nakajima and Osamu Dazai. However, these themes also extend to supporting characters and even antagonists, such as Ryunosuke Akutagawa. Delve deeper to know more about the subtle themes that laid the foundation of the story. Now, one of the other interesting points, some of these names might sound familiar to you because many of the characters in Bungo Stray Dogs were named after famous authors. And not just famous English authors either. You have some French authors in there. You have obviously some Japanese authors in there. Basically, a lot of the main characters are named after a famous author from somewhere. So uh, bear that in mind as we move forward here. Anyways, okay, so yeah, abuse and trauma. In Bungo Stray Dogs, not just Atsushi, Many characters have been abused at some point in their lives or otherwise suffered trauma. Atsushi was living in an orphanage before joining the Armed Detective Agency, where the staff, especially the headmaster, tortured him using unspeakable methods. Although it was revealed later that he cared about Atsushi, the reason for his actions was not clarified. Regardless, it left a huge scar on Atsushi, and the series follows his life in the agency as he tries to heal himself by helping others. There's also Yosano, another member of the Armed Detective Agency, who has the ability to heal fatal wounds in herself and others. She was an ex-war medic, a child soldier who was forced to heal countless soldiers and witnessed the cruelty of war at the age of 11. Her experiences during the war left her traumatized until Ranpo Edogawa recruited her to join the Armed Detective Agency. There are also characters who were experimented on by the government, orphans who were forced to scrabble to survive in the street, and even children who had to kill people. Oh, and it has, there are some very dark um, aspects to this anime. I'll give you that much. The series captures all these elements within the plot of the story and explains the impact these past experiences have on the victims. No one snaps out of their trauma, it takes time to heal. Even during the healing process, they will often feel like breaking apart, as was shown in Atsushi's case. Suffering from constant physical and emotional abuse for years, Atsushi believed the words of those adults who told him he was useless and better off dead. Therefore, whenever things go south, he would recollect those words and blame himself for everything. Redemption from the past. Anyways, all right, redemption from the past. One's past doesn't define them. It's only a part of them. This is even more true in Dazai's case, who had his entire life turned around in a matter of moments. Looking at the perky and eccentric Dazai, one would never imagine that he was once a ruthless executive for the Port Mafia, who would kill people without batting an eye. However, due to his close friend Sakunosuke Oda's death, Dazai turned over a new leaf. Before dying, Odasaku asked Dazai to live to protect and help people. Odasaku was not only Dazai's close friend, but someone the latter greatly respected. Therefore, he took Odasaku's words to heart. But because he had a bad reputation, he decided to lie low for 2 years and was able to erase his past records with help of an acquaintance. Hmm. 2 years later, Dazai joined the armed detective agency and proceeded to help others instead of hurting them. It was due to his past experience that he developed a sense of empathy for others and saved Atsushi, who would have otherwise been arrested for his uncontrollable powers. Although Dazai practically manipulated Atsushi to join the agency, things turned out well for the latter. Another example of a character's redemption of his past is the president of the Armed Detective Agency, Yukichi Fukuzawa. He was an assassin in the past, and his hands were stained in blood. Hmm. He switched jobs from an assassin to a bodyguard until he started his detective agency after his encounter with Ranpo. Ranpo deducted that Fukuzawa was very ashamed of his past and had stopped using his sword for years because of that shame. However, ever since Fukuzawa started the agency, he swore to himself to protect the people of Yokohama from any harm that may come his way. His years of hard work and dedication helped him build a respectable reputation around the city. Oh, anyways. All right. Anyways, getting back to the article here. All right. So, discovering a new reason to live through others. Bungo Stray Dog suggests life is inherently valuable as it explores people searching for a new reason continue to hold on even when life has been nothing but cruel to them. The series begins with a starving orphan, Atsushi, who decides to rob a person but somehow ended up saving Dazai from committing suicide. After the series of events, Dazai helped Atsushi find a new reason to live. Before meeting Dazai, Atsushi had completely given up hope, and all he wanted to do was survive at any cost. However, when someone reached out a hand, he accepted it, and in turn started helping other people. Atsushi is not the only character in Bungo Stray Dogs like this. Every character is basically someone society threw away and exploited. The series focuses on how human connection can offer many of these characters a path forward after their lives have been shattered. If Odasaku hadn't convinced Dazai to change his ways, he would still be a human weapon for the Port Mafia. Likewise, had it not been for Dazai, Atsushi would have either starved to death or would be living a life with no meaning or purpose. Thus, if Atsushi hadn't helped Kyoko, uh, then she would still be a ruthless assassin for the Port Mafia, killing people for them and living a life with no meaning. Also, if Ronpo hadn't helped Asano, she would still be trapped within the horrors of her past. Wow, so there's a lot of layers to this, huh? This seems like a lot of, and I have watched this show, and I saw this for myself. This was pretty interesting anime, say the least. Anyways, crossing over with renowned literature, which is one of the things I talked about earlier here, and this I guess is the last part of this article. Bungo Stray Dogs translates to literary stray dogs, quote unquote. Although the plot doesn't revolve entirely around literature, almost every character is named after a famous authors and poets during different periods of time with abilities relating to their literary works. And I mentioned that as well. The series takes real life literary figures, countries such as Japan, America, Russia, etc., turns them into fictional characters, all of who have abilities based on the novel or poetry they wrote when they were alive. It's certainly unique. It is certainly a unique, creative way to honor these authors, as well as forget a connection between anime and the real world. Um, the dynamic between the various literary inspired characters creates original, although sometimes complex, connections, whether fans are familiar with classic literature or not. Which is true. I mean, and you learn about, you realize this, and sometimes it does make you want to, well, who is this guy? Like, who was the real Osamu Dazai? Who was the real Sakunosuke Oda? Obviously, like some of the characters like Edgar Allan Poe, Tom, let's see, Mark Twain, Louisa May Alcott. We know these names, but some of these like Japanese names that are um, are named after characters. So with that, get ready to move on to the next story here. This one caught my attention pretty quickly too. This does have some crossover to wrestling as well, but it's mostly a kind of an anime related story here. Well, anyways, ex WWE star Mercedes Monet, who many of you who watching the WWE would have known her as Sasha Banks, received Sailor Moon artwork from the anime's director. An anime director transforms former WWE wrestler Mercedes Monet into a Sailor Guardian in this magical girl fan art featuring Sailor Moon. Article by Leo Reina, published 22 hours ago. Hisashi Kagawa, an animation director who worked on the 1992 Sailor Moon TV series, drew former WWE star Mercedes Monet as a magical girl for her birthday. Isn't that sweet? Kind of sweet, huh? In Kagawa's Sailor Moon fan art, Monet, who previously went by the ring name of Sasha Banks, is drawn as a Sailor Girl. Now, for those of you who are probably unaware of this, Mercedes Monet is over in Japan right now doing some work with New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's how this was even possible to be done. You know, some of you may remember from about a month ago when we talked about it. She, of course, made an appearance at Wrestle Kingdom back on January the 4th. She's still over there. I think she's over there through March, I think, doing shows, and she's going up against New Japan Women's Champion Kyrie. She's got a program working with her on that. So, she's accompanied by Usagi Tsukino in her Sailor Moon form and her crescent moon cat Luna. Now, those of you who Usagi Tsukino, or some of you who might have watched the Deke Cloveway dub, that's Serena. Is what they called her in the Deke Cloveway dub, and then they went back to her, her Japanese name of Usagi. Usagi is a Japanese word for rabbit or bunny. So, just so you know. The fan art was a birthday gift to Monet from Kagawa and Haoming Shop, a wrestling-themed clothing brand. The Sailor Guardian design of Monet is based on the Sailor Moon inspired outfit she wore during the 2022 Royal Rumble. In addition to Sailor Moon, Kagawa worked on anime series like Go Princess Precure. We would know that franchise is Precure. Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Quest: The Adventures of Dai. I guess here's the. Oh, look at that! That does look kind of cute. If you guys are seeing the artwork there. Hmm. Alrighty then. There we go with that. Oh, look at that right there, though. That is kind of cute. Following her departure from WWE, Monet signed on with New Japan Pro Wrestling, as I mentioned earlier, and debuted her new name and look at Wrestle Kingdom 17. Monet, under her real name Mercedes Bernardo, also appeared as uh, Casca Reeves in season 2 of The Mandalorian. Season 3 of The Mandalorian will premiere March 1st on Disney, though Bernardo is not expected to return for the Star Wars series next outing. Sailor Moon is a fan favorite. The original Sailor Moon anime TV series ran from March 7th, 1992 to February 8th, 1997, so 5 years. In 2014, Toei Animation revived the Sailor Moon anime series as Sailor Moon Crystal. The new anime follows a Sailor Moon manga by Naoko Takeuchi more closely, while retaining Takeuchi's original character designs as well. There are 3 seasons of Sailor Moon Crystal, while a 2-part theatrical movie called Sailor Moon Eternal serves as season 4. A 2-part sequel film, Sailor Moon Cosmos, served as the 5th and final season of the anime reboot, and will debut in Japanese theaters on June 9th and June 30th, respectively. Sailor Moon Crystal is available to stream on Netflix, Hulu, and Crunchyroll. Netflix has acquired the international streaming rights to Sailor Moon Eternal. So if that's your thing, then there you go. Getting ready to move on to see what else we can get caught up on here. Uh, anyways. Okay, so Solo Leveling's first 2 epilogue chapters bring the Shadow Monarch back to high school. Okay, so that might be spoilers. Let's see. Kuroko's basketball, Generation of Miracles ranked by basketball skill. Don't know too much about that. Let's see. How reincarnated as a slime, Scarlet Bond ties into the anime's most heartbreaking tragedy. That might be considered a plot point spoiler. Island, the calling game wasn't the first time Megumi Fushiguro. Okay. All right, this is a character profile, so I don't think there'll be any spoilers in this one. Just check and make sure. Oh wait, warning: the following contains. Okay, then that is actually a spoiler. Okay, I thought I would with it being a character profile that wouldn't be a spoiler, but all right. There's a comparative study here. Just make sure there's no. Let's see. Yeah, the spoiler. If it was a if there was a spoiler there. My dress-up darlings, Marin versus more than a married couple's Akari. Who's a better Gyaru? Now I don't know what a Gyaru is, but I'm sure they'll explain it here. Um, Marin Kitagawa and Akari Watanabe are two of the anime community's quote unquote best girls from 2022. So I guess that's what Gyaru means. It's the best girl, I guess. But which fit the Gyaru trope better? 2022 had no shortage of female leads in anime and that captured anime fans' attention, and for good reason. For example, Anzu from Romantic Killer easily turned out to be one of the best anime girls of the year, with her core personality trait of being an obsessive otaku making her entertaining to watch and even relatable for many fans. Additionally, other standout characters like Comey from Comey Can't Communicate and Yor from Spy Family quickly became fandom favorites. Yep. Similarly, 2022 was monumental in depicting Yarus, extroverted, stylish girls who are often misinterpreted as being shallow and ditzy. Marin Kitagawa from My Dress Up Darling and More Than a Married Couple's Akari Watanabe were the most notable Gyaru girls of 2022, who left a heartwarming impression on the anime community's heart. They not only reformed the personality trope, but were also successful in showing their softer side. That being said, one of them made a larger impact on the community as a whole. If I had to guess, I would think it would be Marin because I've heard more about Dress Up Darling than I have about More Than a Married Couple. Marin Kitagawa's character was game changing. Look at that. Imagine if that girl got up in your face to try to spark you onto something. That right there. That I'm sure would get most guys' attention right there. My Dress Up Darling was one of the best romance anime of 2022. Since it aired way earlier than More Than a Married Couple, the show had an edge in establishing a standard for anyways, standard for other shonen anime or shonen romances to compete. My Dress Up Darling did a wonderful job enlightening the tropes with which most high school rom-coms are made. Marin is the most popular girl in school, and her looks are worth dying for. Her bleached hair, over the top nails, and piercings show off classic signs of a typical Gyaru. But she's obviously more than that. Marin is a not so low key otaku who loves cosplay. She's so resolute about what she loves that she doesn't allow anyone to downplay her hobbies. As a beautiful girl, Marin is used to getting hit on by men of every age, but no one comes close to shattering her confidence. She is a go getter and an initiator, and someone who takes charge of the situation. Personality type that is more than welcome in the romance anime genre. Everyone deserves a partner like Akari Watanabe. Oh, look at her. She's kind of cute too. Okay, so anyways, uh, I want to try to burn through some of this stuff a little quicker. Here we're up to 50 minutes now. The main female protagonist from More Than a Married Couple may immediately come off as a typical high school queen bee, but kudos to the show for not following the washed up trope. Um, Akari is as outward and glamorous as they come, but there's no one quite like her in the whole series. She is a shining ball of positivity, warmth, and sometimes even vulnerability. Just like Marin, she's confident about her body and isn't always red faced when a little skin shows off. Being into fashion and having a good social life doesn't mean she's a complete idiot. Akari is a whole package that does everything considerably right when the time comes. Unlike Jiro, she has a strong resolve toward the thing she wants, even if it's him. Akari Watanabe has single handedly carried her show from becoming another passable title of the season. She's a dignified love rival, a true female team member, and a commendable lover. Commendable lover. Wow. Who makes the better Gyaro? It's an incredibly close call, but if the anime community had to make an absolute decision, it would be Marin Kitagawa, but only by a small margin. That's because My Dress Up Darling has had the luxury of developing a strong fan base since it was released early on in 2022. More Than a Married Couple comes toward the end of 2022, so it was natural for the fans to compare Akari to Marin, who had already established herself as one of the best anime girls of the season. It is true, Let's see. There's only a partial difference between the characters, but both ladies are absolute winners. Their characters have been instrumental in uplifting their passive and shy male counterparts. His energy, confidence, and positivity are intoxicating, and they gave many superficial female anime characters a run for their money. Wow. So that's a pretty good story there. All right. Anyways, I'm ready to go on to the. Let's see what else we have here. A reincarnated. Hmm. This might be an interesting one to go over. All right. I don't think this one should be because I think all these are. Let's see. Yeah, no indication of spoilers here. So let's take a look at this article then. How Dragon Ball Super's anime, manga, and movie stories could all line up. The latest arc of Dragon Ball Super manga finally clarified how its events can line up chronologically with those of the anime and the movie. Article by Mark York, published 9 hours ago. The timeline for Dragon Ball Super became a little complicated with the introduction of the movie. After the Universal Survival Saga, the anime ended and the movies and manga branched off into different stories. Nobody was sure what the anime would do when it came back. However, with the latest arc of the Dragon Ball Super manga, the the timeline seems to be lining up again. The story of the latest arc has been set up in a way seems like it could be connected to the story of the movies, albeit imperfectly. With this, it should be a little easier to predict what the anime will do once it starts up again. How the upcoming stories how are the upcoming stories ordered chronologically? The first piece of Dragon Ball Super canon to take place when the anime left off is the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. This movie starts with Goku and Vegeta reflecting on their opponents in the Tournament of Power. They realized how much stronger they had to get and decided to train accordingly. While the events of the Broly movie are canon, they weren't covered in the manga. Instead, the story went straight into the Galactic Prisoner Saga, an arc where the Z Fighters joined forces with the Galactic Patrol to stop the planet-eating wizard Moro. Broly was only briefly mentioned in this arc, which implies that the events of the movie did happen, but they weren't covered in their entirety. Following the defeat of Moro was the Granola, the Survivor arc. In this arc, the eponymous Cerulean makes a wish on the Dragon Balls to become the strongest mortal in the universe. His goal was to take revenge against Frieza and the Saiyans for decimating his people. By the end of the arc, Goku and Vegeta realized how outclassed they were, even in their own universe, and resolved to get even stronger. This is where the superhero saga started in the manga. There has been a noticeable jump forward in time as the children have all gotten considerably older looking. There have also been some signs of Dr. Hito making some moves. As for what all of this means, the second Dragon Ball Super movie has the answer. The Dragon Ball Super manga's superhero saga seems to be leading into the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie. Not only is this movie where Goten and Trunks physically grew up, but Dr. Hito also appeared as the unintentional minor protagonist. However, Goku, Vegeta, and Broly's side story made it sound as though the events of the movie directly followed the Broly movie. This movie's debatable placement on Dragon Ball Super timeline is what made things especially confusing for the fans. How could the next Dragon Ball anime adapt the movie and manga story arcs? If the successor to the Dragon Ball Super anime is anything like its predecessor, it will likely adapt the stories of the movies. This means that the Broly movie will be made into a multi-episode arc. Oh, a multi-episode arc in the next anime. Once that's settled, the anime can follow the story of the manga where it picks things up. It should be noted that many fans have been averse to the idea of the movies being adapted into the anime format. General assumption is that the anime would present the movies' stories with inferior quality. This is what happened with Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F movies when they adapted into the God of Destruction Beerus Saga and Golden Frieza Saga, respectively. Regardless, the anime continuing to adapt the movies remains a likely possibility. Following Broly, the anime could either adapt the superhero saga or the Galactic Prisoner saga. However, for how the manga was the former arc, it will probably come at it as its intended later point. Thus, the Galactic Prisoner saga will probably be what comes next. Following that would be the Granola, the Survivor arc. Finally, the anime could begin adapting the events of the superhero saga. This is where the branch between the movies and the manga will really start to matter. Um, the way Dr. Hito was introduced in the manga was vastly different from what it was in the anime, as are his motivations. In all likelihood, the events of this arc will continue to differ greatly. The anime will have to pick one version of this story arc and stick with it. Will Dragon Ball Super anime be different from the manga and movies? It's worth noting that the Dragon Ball Super movies, manga, and anime are not tightly bound to each other. In terms of story, continuity between the three sets of stories has varied just enough to make each of them seem unique. That said, the major events of each of these continuities, like new character introductions and power ups, have remained fairly consistent. The upcoming arcs could become complete retellings once the anime is released. This could mean anything from giving more Z fighters better fight scenes to giving the villains power ups they never had in the movies or manga. As long as all the characters end up in the same place by the end of each arc, anything could happen to any of them. The anime also has a chance to give power ups to characters that were once exclusive to the movies and manga. This could mean something like Vegeta becoming a Super Saiyan God or Goku using the Hakai technique. There might even be some anime exclusive arcs of characters gaining such new techniques. Having these kinds of power ups present in the anime will make it more likely for them to appear in other Dragon Ball related media. Of course, this is all assuming that anime comes back by the end of the manga's superhero saga. This also assumes that superhero saga flows naturally into the events of the movie. The story of the manga could continue to branch out into its own thing. The anime is forced to tell a story more like that of the movie. Alternatively, the anime could create its own story entirely that borrows elements from the manga as well as the movie. As things stand, there's no telling just when Dragon Ball Super anime will come back or even what it will be like. However, it should be a safe assumption that it will include or at least cover some of the major occurrences from the movies and manga. Ideally, by the time um, the superhero saga has been covered in its entirety by all three forms of media, the stories should all be fairly well aligned. Yeah, kind of the idea of yeah, that's what I gather. All right, so we're past the hour mark here, so I'm going to go ahead and start to move on here to uh, an hour seven. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the wrestling wrap up here. All right. So with that, so last night's Dynamite included, of course, two title matchups, TNT title on the line as well as TBS title. You had Bryan Danielson continuing his quest to become the number one contender to get a title shot at MJF in a 60-minute Iron Man match against his latest obstacle, putting in his way Timothy Thatcher. The battle between Konosuke Takeshita and Brian Cage, and then you had starting off the night Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page in the third of their series of matches. So with that, let's see. So Hangman Adam Page lost. Okay, he lost. So Jon Moxley won their match, but that feud looks like it may continue as that feud may continue because Moxley apparently was not even though he won the match, was not happy with how the match ended. He got a quick pin and he really wanted to knock Page Sedler, and the two of them still want to go after each other, for obvious reasons. So this feud may be continuing. The Acclaimed wrestled last night, and in their match they beat the team of Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd in just under a minute, 50 seconds to be precise, to be exact. Konosuke Takeshita defeated Brian Cage, as Brian Cage is seemingly becoming a jobber to the stars on the main programs while still being pushed hard on Dark and Elevation. Bryan Danielson did defeat, overcame severe pain and torture from Timothy Thatcher to defeat him to continue his, and as MJF tried to come out and interfere, he was stopped in his tracks by Konosuke Takeshita, which led to an announcement for a match coming up on next week's Dynamite between MJF and Konosuke Takeshita. Jade Cargill retained her title over Red Velvet, and in the main event saw Samoa Joe defeat Darby Allin in a no-holds-barred match to become the new TNT Championship. Now, in the aftermath of the match, this saw the return as well of Wardlow. Wardlow back from injury. Now it will be interesting to see where this goes. Personally, I hope that Wardlow defeats Joe and then they give him a significant run as TNT champion. They stop doing this to the bigger guys where they're just jobbing them out to everybody for some stupid reason. That at least have some big men. And granted, Brian Cage is pretty good. He should be being pushed a little bit more rather than just being a jobber to the smaller guys. Okay. Wardlow's another guy who should be pushed. Even Powerhouse Hobbs. Now, granted, Powerhouse Hobbs is probably not as tall as some of the other guys. He's a powerhouse who, I personally would have liked to have seen a bit of a feud between Wardlow and Hobbs over the TNT title. Joe's already got the Ring of Honor TV title, so what, whole King of Television angle is kind of stupid, I think. But So, anyways, all right. So with that, also going over some WWF WWE news. So apparently there's some backstage heat with Brock Lesnar as while after his Royal Rumble elimination, it was scripted that he was supposed to go wild, but he did some things that were not part of the script, in which the original referee Orango, who was going to be the one to raise Cody Rhodes' hand, he got injured his foot, and they had to get another referee. And there were apparently some people backstage who had some heat towards Brock over that. He did some things that weren't part of the script, and that kind of upset some people apparently. Also, in WWE news, we also have to report on a passing. The last of the great Poffo family, Lanny Poffo, who many of you might remember from his time in the WWF as enhancement talent throughout the 80s, and then eventually as the Genius, Mr. Perfect Kurt Henning's manager in the early 90s, as well as being the manager for the Beverly Brothers, passed away at the age of 68. The news was brought to everybody's attention by WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Lanny, who of course was the son of Angelo Poffo and the younger brother of Macho Man Randy Savage, had of course quite a bit of success in his father's, um, you know, international championship wrestling, and based out of Kentucky in the early '80s there, late '70s, early '80s. Also, of course, he and Randy had some tag team success throughout the Southern Independence. So, and his father being a promoter for many years. All right. So, anyways, so with that, let's see where are we at now. An hour and 18. So, might be a good time to start wrapping things up a little bit here. We're down to the final segment of the show here. Let's see. Oh, is there anything else? Um, let's see, anything else that I can think of? Well, we did go over the Mercedes Monet story earlier about the fan art. Anything else? Well, one of the other things that was said about AEW too was that they're kind of being a little bit slow in terms of prep. So the next AEW pay per view will be Revolution, coming up on March the 5th, which is a little over a month away. The only match they have confirmed thus far is potentially MJF versus Bryan Danielson. Now, now a couple other stories they seem to be working on here would seem in terms of the feud between Hangman Adam Page and Jon Moxley, as well as with Wardlow's return. Could we see Wardlow challenging Samoa Joe for the TNT title at the event? Guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. Anyways, I'll let that now. Why don't we go ahead and 43, 93, 93. Okay. All right. So, with that being said, I think it's a good time to talk about this day in each history. History! All right. So, anyways, today um, being Wednesday, or no, Thursday, February the 2nd, let's take a look back at this day in each history. History! First off, we're going to go head back 80 years ago today. And on this date, 80 years ago today, the Warner Brothers animated short "Pigs in a Polka" um, premiered in theaters on this date back in 1943. It was, of course, originally produced in 1942. The film is a parody of two of Walt Disney production films: 1933's Three Little Pigs and 1940's Fantasia. The familiar story of Three Little Pigs is set in this film to the Brahms Hungarian dances, specifically numbers 5, 7, 6, and 17. I think actually recently, which appear in that order. It also is part of a lighthearted, culturally subversive Merry Melodies running joke, which would later be re-emphasized in another Fantasia parody in 43, a corny concerto. Yeah, so I recently watched this on one of those collections. So, anyways, on this date 40 years ago, Pigs in a Polka made its theatrical debut. Um, So with that, let's see. Let's move on to the next piece of niche history. As on this next piece of niche history here, on this date 30 years ago, the 10th issue of 8 Ball from Fantagraphics went on sale on this date back 30 years ago today, back in 1993. Sold for $2.50 for 32 pages. On this date, 30 years ago today, the 10th issue of Fantagraphics 8 Ball went on sale on this date back in 1993. And 1993 is just so nice, I'm going to hit it twice. As also on this date back in 1993, during a Smoky Mountain Wrestling television taping in Jellicoe, Tennessee, which of course later aired on Smoky Mountain Wrestling television program on February 20th, the Night Stalker, who most people would remember as either Adam Bomb in the WWF or Brian Clark, the real name Brian Clark, from his time as one half of Chronic in WCW, would defeat Tracy Smothers in a beat the champ television championship match. So, Night Stalker defeated Tracy Smothers for the Smoky Mountain Beat the Champ television championship on this date during a Smoky Mountain Wrestling television taping held in Jellicoe, Tennessee. So, with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the content. And with that, I shall bid everybody. Don't forget that this tomorrow I'll have RJ Carter with me, as we will be going over comics that went on sale back in August of 1939. Tomorrow we'll be focusing on Jumbo Comics number 10 from Fiction House. We'll be reading from Sheena, Weird Stories of Supernatural, maybe Welcome to the West, maybe pick up a few other titles. So with that, guys, I thank you all for being here tonight, and I hope to see you back here tomorrow. Bye.